welcome to another FaceHammer Old World video, and in this video I'll be going through some of the articles that have appeared over the last couple of years on the Warhammer community site to give you a kind of where we are right now, up to date. This is everything, and you know, just give you those key things you might have missed without having to trawl through like thousands of articles on the Warhammer website, which can be a little bit tricky. And just some main important points. I'm not going to cover everything because there are some articles which, to be honest, aren't really relevant, or they're just silly. Like, oh, here's a map, and oh, square bases. Is it really square bases? Yes, it's square bases. We know. You know, at the time maybe would have been important, but not now. Obviously, you probably know a little bit more. You've read this stuff anyway. So let's go through probably the most important article that I think, other than the rules one, and maybe more important, to be honest, is the factions. So I'm going to start with this one because honestly, there's some real important bits of information in here. So they said that we've seen the Tomb King and Paladin of Bretonnia. Those models look awesome, by the way. And then they talk about the era it's set. So they're basically saying that it's going to be set around the lands between Bretonnia and the World Edge Mountains, so sort of very much in the Border Prince, kind of that little section, all Europe. If you can notice, it's actually based on the real world. And then basically there's some core factions. So basically, these are the factions. So people who've played Warhammer Fantasy Battle, you've got obviously Empire, Dwarves, Brets, Wood Elves, High Elves. So then you've got Orcs, Warriors, Beastmen, and Tomb Kings. So now they've talked loads about Kislev, so I guess they might go into the Empire of Man faction if they're having a faction. Obviously, Warhammer Total War did a load of Kislev stuff, so maybe it was because of the conjunction with that, but I think they will do Kislev models. Obviously, they were quite popular, and they kind of went away in, I think, 6th edition, and they weren't really a faction. A lot of people had like nostalgia for those, and there was the Dogs of War faction and stuff like that. So, where are Skaven, Dark Elves, Vampire Counts, Ogre Kingdoms, you know, all these other factions, Lizardmen, for those that played Lustria, just don't go there, and then they can't get you. That's fine. So where are these other factions? So it does seem a little bit light. They kind of explained it away. They say when it takes place is before the Siege of Prague, and basically saying that you know, Skaven are not really a thing. They're in hiding and all this stuff. And you know, the Dark Hell, all these like insular races aren't really going out. You know, I don't know. I kind of feel that hopefully they will revisit those factions, because for me, like, Skaven are a pretty iconic faction in Warhammer. It's a very unique Warhammer faction. I would like to see them back. So there you go. See, even Demons of Chaos, you know, like, there was a very popular army. Same with Dark Elves and the Vampires. They were like the big three in 7th edition. I think the Vampires come out and everyone went, oh, they're really strong. And then Dark Elves and Demons dropped and went, yeah, hold my beer. So they do say that they will have rules. So if you've got the armies, then they will have rules. But they're not going to publish rules for Warhammer Age of Sigmar miniatures. Except, so obviously, like, a lot of these old factions and a lot of these models have been migrated into the Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So it seems like if they're in AOS, they won't be in the old world. Obviously, there's nothing to stop. I'm sure they'll release the old Chaos Warriors, and then you might as well use the new ones. It doesn't really matter. But it does say here that they're going to publish rules for these old ones as PDFs. Now, this does raise a few alarm bells with me, because when Age of Sigmar dropped, the compendium PDFs were busted, and there was some discussion about not balancing them because they're just there. And I put my foot down quite strongly and said they need to amend the Tomb King rules because they're busted. And I took them to the Masters and walked the Masters with it and said, look, this is why. And they did change them, thankfully. So hopefully they're not. Hopefully they've been balanced and play tested just as much as the core rules. But we saw this in the past with other Games Workshop games like Warcry. You know, you had the normal war bands. You know, your sort of your Iron Golems and all the Chaos war bands were fine, and then they released these card packs of like squigs and all the rest of it, and they were just completely busted. The Nighthaunt one was gross, and I think the squigs were probably the best one, but it was just like you're just playing a game going, what is this? I feel like I've got, you know, a knife, they've got a machine gun. So hopefully there isn't any of that. It does say they're only going to have rules for units that are part of the game during the final edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. So whether that'll mean like Be'lakor has rules, because obviously he had a model and he was out, but there's now a new model. So do you use the new model? Is it going to be on the old model on a different base? Is it? I don't know. So I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But they do say they will do rules for these. So it kind of gives a little bit here, like, oh, what's going on with them then? Why aren't they there? There's some fluff reason. So they're saying they're based far from the old world and they're inwards. This is why they're not there, because they're all like far away. Von Karsteins are all dead. The vampire, so that's a really weird one not to have the Von Karstein. No, there is actually, and especially with Brett's, because you've got like and I'll there's an article with like the map of Brett's, and there's the Harkons, which are actually vampires, and they become the Blood Knights, and they're so the Brett's are in, so I would expect to see those in. Hopefully later on they'll advance the timeline and they'll start adding these factions back in, but we will see. Skaven not being there again, like that really does you know, grip my shit a little bit. And obviously, you know, there's a lot tied into like Musalon and Skaven Blight and things like that, so I don't know. We'll see. And obviously then you still got the Chaos incursions and things like that. So it says Chaos Demons have existed and will again. So there's a little hint, maybe they will come. It says Chaos in its lowest ebb. Asava Core rises to become the 12th ever chosen. So when he rises, we won't see them for a while yet. So this is all hinting, you know, that you know, it says like, oh, demon princes and like very rare. So this is kind of hinting that the timeline is going to progress, and we will see demons and Asava later on. And it kind of makes sense that you start very far back, and it allows you to progress through. So I'm kind of excited to see where they go with it. And originally I was a little bit disappointed, thinking, why haven't there these factions there? Why are there so many missing? But hopefully there's enough going on to keep it interesting. Now, interesting enough, my factions are all there. So I've got High Elves, Tomb Kings, and Warriors as my main armies, and they're all there. Vampires was my other army, that's not there, a bit unfortunate. And Demons of Chaos, which is not there, a bit unfortunate, but I'm not doing too badly with that spread. So that article there, I'll leave you to read it yourself, and there might be some more insights on there. I don't have any insight on it myself. I really hope that there isn't some sort of like weird reason where anything that's in Age of Sigmar cannot be used, and that would be really crap, to be honest. Because obviously they're going to release old models, but you know, like, are we going to be able to use Mega Gargants as giants, for example, or is it we're going to have the old, you know, because the Man Crusher Gargant is the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle giant. I think it still comes with a square base on the sprue. So you're kind of thinking, well, why can I not use that? If is that okay or not? And weird things like that. So obviously with the drop of Cities of Sigmar models, that probably allows the Empire of Man models to be used. But you know, most of the Dark Elf models are legacy, or what they called legends. They did this Warhammer Legends thing, which I think they only did to Dark Elves. And I don't think, although they're in cities, they're not. They could have just done away with that and said, well, we just use the new city models. And if you've got Black Guard or you've got Executioners, they just become, or Great Swords or Longbeards, they're just Elite Guard or City Guard or City Watch, and they could have done away with all that. So to free up those box sets for the old world. So maybe in the future, we'll see. So anyway, that article there that dropped in May. So that's this year. Quite an important one. Now we have seen these models were revealed. These were like new heroes, and this was back a while ago. Now this is April, so I absolutely love this. Like this is just so cool. Tomb King on foot. Yeah, love it. Love this model so much. This guy's cool as well. I've never really been into Brett's. This is a nice touch. I like that. That's a nice paint job on that as well. Obviously they're all good paint jobs, but I just love the fact you've got that staining and the orc head. It's pretty cool. And yeah, it's a cool looking model. This weird lantern with a melted wax on hanging off his scabbard and stuff like that. So he looks cool. And he's on foot. And you thought, oh, he's on foot. So why is he on foot? Because he should be on a horse, right? So actually that's cool because that does kind of telegraph some of the stuff we've had. Oh, look, there's a close up of the orc head. Cool. And it's disgusting. Awesome. And we did have an article go up talking about Bretts. Now, one thing I will talk about the Bretts. This is a lance formation of, I think, in 8th edition there were three models wide, deep, so it was like a square. This is kind of the classic lance formation, so it's good to see that back. And normally it means you when you charge, you'd fight with the models on the outside, so only one model wouldn't fight here, but then you would gain ranks for 2 ranks, even though you've only got 2 models and 3 models. Whether that works the same, I don't know, but I like the classic wedge shape. They used to be able to put archers in that as well, actually. We don't see that in this article, but obviously they come with these stakes, so maybe not. But in the original 5th edition box set, was it 6th? 6th edition box set. It was the Lizardman versus Bretts, the first time we saw Bretts. And they had the special card movement trays, and you could put archers in that as well. So whether or not you can or not, I don't know. It's allowed you to maximize the shots rather than being a big long line. Probably not, I'd imagine, but you know, that was cool. There's been some like previews of weapons. So these are all new weapons. I know the Tomb King kits quite well, although this was kind of looks similar to a Stalker halberd. These are all kind of new, so yeah, so it's good to see that they're doing some new kits as well. Now I wanted to talk about this article. It's quite interesting. So this is the Empire focus, or Empire of Man, and there's some really cool artwork. I really love these pictures, and they're talking about the timing again. And what they've done is where they've set this is so far back, the Empire is not actually unified under Magnus the Pious, and they're kind of like they call them counties. They're almost a bit like medieval England, really, where you've got like the different areas fighting for control of the Empire, and it's really quite cool because it's adds up a lot of design space, and they basically say there's anarchy in the Empire, and they're infighting basically, and you've got Westerland, which it's basically the merchants, which Marienburg, if people know, is on the coast, and they do a lot of trade with the elves and things like that. So very ostentatious normally. You've got Osterland, which is you've got Middenheim, which is your cult of Ulrich, so your Wolf Guard and all that came out during the end times. So yeah, that'd be cool to see. And that's in the how much. If they do any like specific models for those counties, like if they actually do like Marienburg, like guys with really fancy guns and hats and stuff, or they do like the Knights of Ulrich or whatever, whereas they used to have Knights of the White Wolf, and you used to have the they did during the end times, there was the unit on foot, which was like the most wolf cloaks and hammers. So maybe there'll be some units there. We've also got Reichland, which is a kind of the classic, Gautdorf, which is the capital, and you've got Talabek, which is it's kind of got Talabheim and other bits. So I would be interested to see. My most favorite was Avalon. I really like Avalon, so hopefully you can still do that as well. But yeah, so it's basically there's like these main counties, and obviously the Drakwold and the Beastmen come from those areas. Interesting what they do with the Beastman models. If they release those old Beastman kits again, which they probably will. But yeah, that'd be cool. And obviously you've got they keep talking about Astapher massing. So, and they say they would ultimately unify under Magnus the Pious. They talk about the Beastmen and the Orcs as threats, and also the threat of the North with the Chaos, and would they unify? They would have unified under Magnus to push back Chaos, but this is all set before that. And the ruination of the end times. So it's about 2,000 years before the end times. So there's a lot of design space for them to wiggle around in. So I think they've done quite a clever thing doing it, actually, because it allows them to sort of diversify the empire a little bit, and then you can almost like walk through the history of the old world in old world to get to the end times. And whether or not they'll do that or not, I don't know, but maybe that would be really cool if we get some stuff moving there. And also there's other articles. So there's something about the Tomb Kings, so obviously him from Nakara and the Land of the Dead, with Cetra the Imperishable. So I don't know how this plays out with like Nagash and the Arkan the Black and the what happens with Lamia and the vampires. So yeah, I will see. I'm kind of interested in this. I really want to sort of deep dive into this because I've read like all the Nagash novels. I'm really into my sort of death timeline, and then obviously like Nagash is all tied into like the Skaven and the assassination and the Crown Prince and all this stuff. So I don't know whether how far this will be done. This is a bit weird having like Khemri with no Nagash. Maybe the Nagash has already been like killed and is in regeneration, but obviously he's such a key part of the lore of the creation of the Tomb Kings, that how do you like not have him in the game, or how do you go about it? So yeah, I'm interested to see how they go about it. So I don't know if there's anything in this article here. It's unusual, but I'm they talk about like Cetra in life and stuff. So I think there'll be some information to come out on that. I'm interested to see how that plays out. Obviously, we haven't seen the Tomb King reveals like we have with the Bretonnians, which I'm going to get onto in a minute. So there is this article as well. This was back in July 23. So it talks about what it is, and breaking enemies. It's very stuff we've already seen in Magic, so it's not really anything too amazing in there. So we had some other reveals from Nova. So we had the Damsel, which I think she's a great model, really nice. And there's the old damsels there. You can see the Goblin Green classic. I think that was the Fey Enchantress, actually. She was actually like a special character, and this was I think she was a special character as well, actually. I think she was like the Queen of Bretonnia, or something to do with the chalice. I can't remember now, but yeah, Bretts weren't really my thing. So got the Battle Standard Bearer again. He's on foot, which you're like, he's on foot. Why is he on foot? Because Bretonnians are always mounted. And then we've got the Lord on Pegasus, which was revealed. He looks awesome. Really like that. Obviously, there was some leaks on that. You've got different builds. You've got the Battle Standard build. You've got the Paladin build, which is like the sub-hero. Then you've got the Knights on foot. Now, this is big, right? People were asking for these for years with Brett's. Like, I want my Knights on foot. So this is a new kit. So obviously, it looks like it's a new plastic kit. Fantastic. because that says that they're not just going to like release old models, they're going to actually do new models for the game. It looks like it's a multi-part plastic. Obviously we saw some resin characters and you thought maybe you're just doing resins. Obviously this is like a plastic kit as well. But it looks like you can build questing knights, grail knights, maybe. So knights of the realm on foot. It looks like these look slightly different. So they've got like axes and they've got different, so they might be grail knights, they might be questing knights, they might be knights of the realm. So they've got sort of sword and board. So it's obviously weapons options. It looks like they've got different helmets. Then you've got your kind of these heroes. So I think they're just the command models from that actually. Pegasus Knights, so that's the old plastic kit. The old plastic kit for Knights of the Realm. The old peasants with these little frog sticks. I did find it funny during the preview trying to explain why there's frogs on sticks. It's not nothing to do with them being based on France. And then you've got the archers, and she's a new model based on an old sculpt. Actually, I think there was an old sculpt similar that they've used. I think that's a beautiful model, really nice. And yeah, obviously the revealed models that they've shown before. So battle standard on horse, on foot, the Lord, and the Enchantress. They look like they're probably resins. Field Trebuchet. Now, if anyone ever built this, you'll know that this was an absolute nightmare, and not as bad as the Screaming Skull Catapult. Hopefully they re-engineer that, because that was an absolute nightmare. So it does say that they've retooled it to be less of a nightmare. Trebuchet was always cool. So yeah, that's some new models as well. And then we did have some articles. This is going back quite a way. So it talks about Kislev and it shows the old models. I don't know, because Kislev is not in the faction focus and they're not mentioned, but there's a lot of stuff about Kislev. Now, I don't know if that's because of Warhammer Total War 3 focuses on Kislev. It might be because of that, or it might be because they actually are going to do Kislev as a faction maybe later. I don't know. They do that, and they talk about bears, and they also talk about mentioning. So they do this map of Bretonnia. Is it in here? No. There's an article which I found. This one, right? So this article, which is from 21, so it's quite a while ago. It's like 2 years ago. So it says in here that they've got this map, and you can see this border prints map here. Now, I always thought this Harkon, this, I think this is the basis of the Blood Knights. So I'm pretty sure, but I thought it was in Bretonnia, but I might be wrong. But I know that I'm pretty sure he becomes like a vampire. I'm pretty sure. So we'll see how that plays in. You see a close up here. But I can dig out my old books and have a look, because I'm quite interested to see. So once I get my hands on the Old World book and have a read, I'm probably going to dig out. I've got all my old Warhammer books going back from 4th edition all the way up to 8th edition, so I'll probably dig them out and have a read and see what it says. Yeah, and it says that the Border Princes is kind of like, it's always where you set campaigns in the old days, because it's like the Wild West of the Old World. I don't mean that they don't have rules, but yeah, it's quite interesting. And then this article was interesting as well. So this one is from 22. And this article talks about Cathay. And this is an area that was never... this with like Ind and Nippon. These 3 areas were never, ever done. And they were left as like design space. They were mentioned. There was like talk about them. And this is, it says a real of the Old World. Now it says in here that they are appearing in Total War Warhammer 3, and it will be coming to the tabletop. Okay, so they are going to do it. So it looks like they're going to have the ability to explore this area of the map that we never really got there. So I think Ind's here, this is Cathay and this is Nippon here. So obviously this is like Japan, China, India. It's not, you don't have to be a genius to work it out. And it's quite interesting that they've actually started to map it. And there's some hobgoblin so obviously the hobgoblins are a bit like the Mongols. So you might see some stuff with Chaos Dwarfs. And obviously they got the Great Wall. We're not taking any references of normal history here at all, are we? So that's kind of the fun of Warhammer, to be honest. It's like, I've and the Terracotta Road, that's interesting. I've not really looked at this before. So you've got these factions. So I'm quite excited if they're going to do a Cathayan models and an army down the road. That would be really cool. Like, because as someone who's played Warhammer Fantasy Battle for most of my life, never seeing them and seeing what they come up with, that's great. And I really hope the studio get a real good grip on it, and they're able to really do some cool stuff. Obviously GW don't really disappoint with their models and what they do in their product, and it looks like Old World's getting a lot of effort put into it. New art forms as well. Like, this is a really nice picture. I really like this. I'll leave these boys up because they're my faves. Love that. So that's basically everything, other than the rules article that dropped today, which you can check my other video out for that. And obviously there's bits and pieces in the articles. If you want to go and search on the Warcom site, you can put in quotes Old World, and it will filter down most of the articles. You can click through and have a read. There are some other ones in there I didn't really look at, but it looks like we're set for a launch early next year, and I'm hoping that I can get my hands on it, and I'll be covering it on the channel. So subscribe if you want more Old World content, and thanks for watching this one. I'll catch you all in the next one. See you guys. Have a good day.